One question, two answers, three takeaways. This is The Process with Brad Borland and Mike McInnes. All right, Mike. We're here with a topic. I would say it's a pretty popular topic. I hear a lot of these questions in one way, shape, or form for, I don't know, for years and years, but some of the training myths. And this is not really specific to any one aspect of training or nutrition or motivation or anything, but you hear a lot of these things that I guess you can call the layman or the everyman that goes to the gym. They hear about some of these principles, and then you'll have sort of quote unquote experts. They might shoot them down for one reason or another. But I just want to go through a quick list with you and just get your take on some of these things. I'll, of course, give you my take, and we might agree or disagree on some of these, but
But we will have a discussion.
that's right. That's what this is all about. So, just to jump right in, some of these are age old, they're decades old. Some of these may have come from the 50s and 60s and 70s, sort of bodybuilders back in the day and things like that, which I love. I love that those decades of training and everything. But so I might be a little biased in some of these. But just to jump right in, one of the biggest ones you hear, and this is whether it's bodybuilding or recreational fitness or something, is 3 sets of 10. You hear that a lot. I was just helping a guy last night at the gym, and he was like, "Do I do 3 sets of 10?" Or like, and it sounds so tired, right? That 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 10, and well, I'm here. My take on it is it's not a bad thing. The muscle, we're finding out more and more, it just wants a load. It wants tension, whether that's 5 reps, 10 reps, 15, 20, etc. So, and I know we talked about in the past about our training's a little different. You're
Hmm.
just a little bit more on the lower rep side, 8 to 12. I'm a little bit more on the higher, 10 to 20, but there's resistance either way. But I think 3 sets of 10 is a good thing. If you apply it to something huge like a squat or or a bent over row or something, or maybe even chin ups, right? That's 3 sets of 10 is a pretty big feat for
With chin-ups, that's a very big feat. Like,
chin ups.
can't do that.
So I honestly think it's a good rule of thumb, and it's not bad advice. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, when we were starting out, years ago, that was the standard. Everybody did 3 sets of 10. And oddly enough, I guess the former like athlete side of me was like, okay, if you're doing 3 sets of 10, I'm going to do 4 sets of 12 because I'm not going to let you outwork me. That was my mentality back in the day. But I firmly believe 3 sets of 10 can be great. It's the quality of the reps that you do, squeezing that muscle. And I think it can apply for everything, squats, bench, curls, whatever. So I think as a rule of thumb, I think we were right back in the day when everybody used to do that.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned your rep range of 8 to 12, and 10 fits right in the middle of that.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of it's good. I would say 8 to 12. If you're going 3 sets of 10, then your range could easily be an 8 to 12 range. Work within that, progressive overload, etc. And I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing.
Well, I think let me throw one more thing in too. I think it's important, for the people listening, you're not just doing 3 sets of just 10 reps. You want those last 2 or 3 reps to be difficult. So I don't like seeing people in the gym just doing a number just to be doing it. You should struggle to get that number. That's how you get the work in.
Right. And this next one, I've done low volume work before in the past. I've done a lot of rest pause training, heavy duty, but I kind of wanted to throw this one like completely your way, if you don't
Okay.
mind. But low volume training, you hear about a lot about low volume training, Mike Menzer, Dorian Yates, etc. It ebbs and flows right over the years. It's in, it's out, high volume comes in, low volume. But as far as like guys like us, that are older and we can't tolerate a ton of volume like we used to for a lot of different reasons. But what's your take on low volume training? Is it something that somebody should, especially at 40, 45 plus, should sort of adopt, for good, not just experiment with temporarily, but maybe something that they could do for the long term?
Yeah, like we talked about before, I was a volume trainer my entire working out life until earlier this year. And I really like the low volume approach at my age because I'm trying to preserve my body so I could do this for years and years to come. But the things to remember about low volume, you're not, it's all about the rep range. It's about the cadence, 3 or 4 seconds up, squeeze it, 3 or 4 seconds down. I mean, you can get a very high quality workout with low volume as long as your intensity is high.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, when I did it, I probably did low volume, high intensity training a little wrong. When I was younger, I went as heavy as I could,
Yeah,
very low reps, and my joints didn't like it. But I think that if I may have done a higher rep range, slowed down my reps, etc., I think that I would have probably stuck with it a little bit longer. But I think that I'm a little bit more of a moderate volume kind of guy, I guess, but that's another discussion. The next two I wanted to kind of combine a little bit. So full body training. Traditionally, we think about full body training like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, right?
right,
Three
right.
days a week, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever people's preferences are. But initially, in the beginning, I think a full body 3 times a week is awesome. I think it's great for beginners. I did
Absolutely.
it way back when I had weights in the backyard, so to speak. Had limited usage of a lot of things, but I think it's great. But I say that just initially because I think eventually you do need to go to some sort of split routine, even if it's an upper lower body split, even to something as simple as a 2 day split. There's going to come a point when you're doing full body, like you said, it's going to be low volume because of the nature of doing full body routine. You don't want to be in there for 4 hours. So you might do 3 sets for per body part, let's say, for example. But you're going to come to the point to where that your intensity is going to increase so much because you're going to get better at what you do. Um, and you're not going to be able to, if you're just going all out in 3 sets of squats in the beginning, and then you do 3 sets of bench presses, and then 3 sets of bent over rows or whatever for back. By the time you get to shoulders, arms, etc., you're going to be
Yeah,
gassed
yeah,
at,
you're done.
at an intermediate level.
Hmm.
But a beginner, I think, is really great because I'm a huge believer in weight training should, especially in the beginning, weight training should be um, looked at as practice because you're trying to practice the movements over and over and over again. You're trying to get your nervous system to adapt over and over and over again. And you can do that. You do that through repetition, frequency, sets, reps, etc. So what's your take
Yeah,
on it?
we're definitely on the same page with this. I think that especially a new trainer, whether you're a teenager or even if you're new to the gym at 40, I think a 3 day split like that, full body workout, I think it's excellent to get your foundation built. Okay. But like you were just saying, the better you get, you start making some progress. I would not think a 3 day full body routine is sustainable long term. Because one thing I really want to point out for people of in our age group, let's say well over 40, rest is way more important in this age than it was at 25 or 30. So your body needs that time to recover. And when you're resting and recovering, that's when your muscles actually grow. The big misconception is people think you're building muscle in the gym. It's the opposite. You're breaking muscle down in the gym. You grow and repair on your off days. So if you do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday full body workout for a long period of time, you're never allowing your body to recover.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Like I said, I just think that the better you get at it, your intensity goes way up and you're
Absolutely.
just not going to be able to sustain a full body. I mean,
Right.
it's just not realistic. And you throw in there, the accumulation of fatigue in your daily life, and is it fun anymore to do a full body routine? Do you kind of want to do more of a split routine? So to kind of combine both worlds of what you need to do and what you want to do, meet in the middle, and then, but again, that's another topic for another day. Moving on to nutrition, post-workout protein. So you and I grew up in an era of they always called it the post-workout window,
That's right.
right? And if you miss that window, you are doomed to never
Right.
grow again, right? I'm kind of a little on both sides with this one. I do believe in post-workout nutrition. Um, do I think that it's absolutely imperative that you do it within a certain amount of window? No, not a certain amount of time after your workout. But I think you'll feel better. I think you'll recover a little bit quicker right after your workout if you sort of take that post-workout nutrition seriously. Um, I've had instances, and I'm sure you have too, to where life got in the way. You got a workout in, you couldn't get that protein shake, post-workout meal, whatever it is, in because something happened, personal life, something scheduling, work, whatever, and then you couldn't eat until way later down the road. And you think back on those hours that you didn't eat, and you just felt like crap, right?
Right.
And I think, there's a physical part and there's a mental part to it too. And I think I just feel mentally, I just feel like, okay, I got my protein shake in after my workout. I'm good. I'm good
Yeah.
for another hour or so. If I don't eat for a couple hours, I'm okay. I got my protein in, like so I think there's like a little psychological component there. But over the years, especially with all the research, I've kind of softened up a little bit about it because it's not the timing is not as important as just getting the protein in eventually, at some point.
That's right. Well, back in the 90s, let's say, we were so programmed to, as soon as you finish your workout, get a protein drink in you as fast as possible. And I remember we used to say, or the rumor, I guess, or whatever was, you had 30 minutes to an hour
Mm.
after your workout to get a protein drink in you. And like it was a mad dash to get that protein drink in you. And we just didn't know any better at that time. And just to kind of put it in perspective, you know, I drink one protein drink every day, but I typically do it first thing in the morning now. So after my workouts, I like to have real food, but good,
Mhm.
clean, high protein. Like after my workout today, I worked out mid-morning and I got home and ate lunch. I had some really lean ground turkey, about 7 ounces of ground turkey, which is a lot of protein. Uh, but I didn't hurry home and heat that up and eat it. It's like I lived my life a little bit. I had a few calls to make. I had a quick meeting for work. You know, it's not as critical as they made us think back in our early days.
Yeah, I remember the threat was that the impending doom was that the window closes after
That's right.
so much time. And I think that's true eventually. Like, if you waited 24 hours, probably, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But of course, overall, get your protein in. And the last one I was going to go over is frequency, eating frequency.
Hmm.
And again, sound like a little bit of a broken record. We grew up in an era where we ate 5 to 6 small meals a day, high protein,
Yep.
moderate carb, low fat, all that good stuff. But, it's taken a lot of flack lately in the last few years. People say it doesn't matter how many times you eat as long as you get this amount of protein in and this many calories and all that stuff. But here's my thing. I kind of hark on practicality. I don't want to eat one large meal of 200 and something grams of protein,
Right.
tons of
Right.
carbs,
Right.
or 2 meals of that, or even three. As I get older, and I probably mentioned this to you before, I don't eat a lot of food. Like as I get older, I don't pig out, and I don't want to. I don't have any desire to. So the frequency of meals is to my advantage. I like to eat smaller meals. I eat enough. I get satisfied. And also, not only that, not only personal preference, but I think just it's easier to get protein in if it's more frequent during the day versus one or two huge meals. That's kind of difficult because you're just going to get full and miserable and you're not going to want to do it. So I
Right.
think just on a practical sense, on a practical level, it's a little easier to eat more frequently.
Yeah, I agree. And again, back in our day when we were trying to build as much muscle as we could, that the rule of thumb was, hey, every 2 to 3 hours, you better be eating something.
Hmm.
Get a lot of protein, all this and that. But you hit on something I think is really important for people in our age group to understand is, your appetite decreases the older you get.
Mm.
That's what I've experienced, and it sounds like you were just saying the same thing. But so I don't eat like the 3 square meals a day like like they used to teach us in school. I like to break it down just like you were saying, but the point is every time you eat something, you should have some quality protein, quality carbs, eat as clean as you can, but throughout the day. And I think that is going to help you long term.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So before I go to the three takeaways, Mike, I'll just kind of let you have the last word on anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to bring up.
Sure. I like all of these topics. I think they're all every single person listening can apply some of the things we're saying to each one of these. But I've always been a big believer in keeping things simple. Okay. Don't get bogged down too deep in all the details trying to fine tune all of these items we just talked about. Keep it simple. Do what makes sense for you, but stick with it. It's success and results in bodybuilding, fitness in general, is consistency. So find what works for you and be consistent, and the results will come.
Yeah, no, well said, well said. So I guess, three takeaways, and this is sort of generalized takeaways, kind of all the things we talked about in a general sense. But number one, just I know there's a lot of information out there. There's a ton of content, social media, internet. Now we have AI telling us, how to work out. But limit your intake. Of course, listen to good sources. Have your handful of sources that you can listen to, some legit sources, things like that. But whatever it is, just stick to it and try not to have too many sources because eventually everything's going to contradict each other. Eventually, if I want to believe that the sky is green, there's somewhere on the internet where I can find that the sky is green.
That's right.
And number two, don't be afraid of going back to the basics. A lot of these things we went over today are basic principles, right? And at one point or another, they work. They really do. Three sets of 10, full body workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, etc. So there's a lot of guys in the 50s and 60s, bodybuilders, powerlifters, weightlifters that did those types of routines, and if you go back and look at some of their physiques in the pre-steroid era, I mean they're pretty impressive. So um, Mike and I still do the basics, so there's a lot to be said about that. And then whatever you do try, number three, whatever you try it for an extended period of time. Don't try it for a week or two. Try it for a month, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Um, it might be uncomfortable at first. It might be difficult at first, but give it time. It'll start to either help you or hurt you. So you'll know. But a week or two isn't enough time to really give anything a chance.
Yeah.
So with that said, guys, another one's in the can, and we are out.